Hello, everyone. You guys excited for Shark Day? I'm making it Shark Day, by the way. Usually, Shark Week is during the summer, it's like July, but today's Shark Day. So feel free to just go around the ship and wish people a happy Shark Day. They might be freaked out and look over like, oh my god, what's going on? But happy Shark Day. So I'm going to be talking about sharks, one of my favorite animals in the ocean. Of course, I'm not going to be saying that they're big and bad and terrible because you can see the smile on my face, but I mean, are some of you in love with sharks? How many of you just love sharks by a raise of hand? A few of you. Great. How many of you are very afraid and hate sharks? All right, security? No. Don't worry, I'm not going to throw you overboard. It is normal. It's something that I've been portrayed and forced into our brain by society and movies and just general culture. I'm going to try to undo it, see if I succeed. If not, at least maybe I'll get rid of a bit of your fear of shark. But let's start. So I'm going to be talking about sharks in general, a bit of their evolution, the very ancestral shark. They're very scary, but not to worry. They're very, very dead and gone and extinct. And then we're going to do a little game at the end, myth or reality, so you guys can scream at me if you think it's a myth or if it's reality, and we'll debunk some of the myths. So, sharks. When you say shark, I'm guessing you all have this image in your head, yes? The great white shark. Very big, bad shark, as they say. It is not actually the great white shark anymore. The great white shark, the name was really getting to their heads. I mean, they were divas, so you just dropped the great part. They're just white sharks now. The real reason why they changed it, no idea. They change names all the time in biology. With genetic studies, they realized that some species are more alike, so they just put them in the same genre, and they changed the name. But now it's just white shark. So, this is usually the shark that we all associate with. There's about 500, 400 different species of sharks. There's a lot of sharks. They vary from size, so some of them are as big as this. Some of them are maybe this big. So they are fish. They're cartilaginous fish. So they diverted from normal fish, bony fish, millions of years ago to develop a cartilaginous skeleton, so made of cartilage, kind of like in our ears we have cartilage. So they are fish. They have gills. They're not mammals. They breathe water. We'll see all of that. So a shark's diet will mostly contain of seals, fish, crustaceans, like shrimps, lobsters, stuff like that, sea lions, cephalopods, such as squids, octopus, and for some sharks, they're going to eat other sharks. Now, do you guys know if something is missing? People. I didn't put my picture in it because they don't eat people. So I'm getting right into it. I'm just going to, get off with the fearful part. They do not eat people. So when shark attack happens, most of the time, it is because shark see us as one of those species. Most of the time, it's going to be a seal or a sea lion. But this is going to happen when, yes, this is the portrait that we have as a shark. So, of course, with movies, we have so many of them. Sharknado, which I've had the question, could it happen? No, a shark tornado made of shark will not happen. They won't bite you in the tornado. Jaws neither could not really happen. They don't tend to attack crowded beaches. And if you really look at the movie Jaws, you've all seen Jaws, yes? Yes? If you really look at the movie, you only see the shark for less than a minute in the entire movie. So the shark part, whether if it's a real shark or a mechanical shark, this whole fear around the shark is made by your brain. Because when you are afraid, your body creates adrenaline. And adrenaline is like happy juice for your brain. So you want to be afraid of the shark. So this is where all of this fear of shark comes from. And so, for the people that do get attacked by sharks, so unprovoked attack, I'm not going to talk about the provoked attack because some people provoke sharks, but the unprovoked attack are mostly made because you look like a seal. So this will happen. You have a picture of a seal, picture of a surfer on a surfboard, and a picture of somebody who is swimming. If you are on the surfboard and you are swimming, you look a lot like a seal. For a shark that is very hungry, maybe disoriented, just you swimming could look like a seal as well from behind, from beneath. And we have a story of somebody who got a little love nibble. But that is how usually it happens. And there are 3 sharks that are responsible for these unprovoked attack. It is the bull shark, the tiger shark, and the great white shark. Those are the 3 major ones that will attack. So the bull shark and the tiger shark, people who have been attacked by them, describe it as being hit by a bus. Because they take a bite, they're like, ooh, yeah, sorry, wrong prey, they'll let you go. But unfortunately, usually they don't take it at the right time or the right angle, and the person doesn't survive. A great white shark, however, it is very likely that you will survive because they'll do what is called a test bite. So they'll kind of like chew a bit, and then they'll be like, ooh, yeah, don't like that. They'll release you, and then usually you'll find the people are missing a limb, but they did survive. So they'll come, test bite, and then they're like, okay, that's a seal. Or, no, human, not my thing. But they don't like the taste of our blood. Apparently, we're too fatty for them. So our blood is not tasteful for them. But they do make mistakes sometimes. Aside from them just being disoriented, if you look like this and they're like, hoo-hoo, buffet, they're going to go, take a bite, and be very sorry, but the damage is already done. But all this for saying, your odds of you actually getting bitten by a shark are very, 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 very low. For example, you have more chance of getting killed by a vending machine. To be precise, you have twice more chance to be killed by a vending machine, and you have, I think, 3 times more chance to get injured, wait for it, by a toilet. How? I don't know, but you do have more chance to get injured by a toilet. So this fear, again, is very irrational, and it is, as well, generational. So I always have the example, my mother was very, very scared of spiders growing up, and so I grew up with this fear of spiders, even though that in Canada, the deadliest thing we have is a mushroom. The spiders they're not gonna hurt me. It's an irrational fear that we grow up with. And if you talk to kids whose parents never told them about sharks, who they don't grow up in regions where there are sharks, they're gonna see them as these very cool, dinosaur-like creatures, and they're gonna be very fascinated by it. And I remember I was on a train with a kid one time, and we were on the Saint Laurent. There are sharks in the Saint Laurent, by the way. And he was like, hey, Mom, do you know what's underneath us that could eat you? It's like, what? It's like sharks. And he started laughing. He was like, yeah, they're so cool to eat humans. So if you go in there, they're going to eat you. It's like, you're a bit far off. But yes, there are sharks pretty much everywhere because they populate most. But no, they will not eat you. If you have questions, fears that you would like me to answer you, please do not be shy. Raise your hand. I will share it. But yes, so shark attack, very, very uncommon. So, what do you do if you do encounter a shark? What I'm going to say sounds very easy, and I will feel very relaxed, but you can do it. I believe in you guys. So, let's say you are in the ocean. You are swimming with sharks for some reasons, because the ocean is the shark's home. A shark will come at you. Because, of course, they are very curious creatures, kind of like in the same way that dolphins are, except we love dolphins. But they might come up at you. They might stay around you. I've never had to redirect a shark, and I've spent my entire life in the ocean working with them. I've seen them. I've been in the ocean swimming with them. Never had to touch one. But they might come up to you and be like, ooh, what's up? My name is Roger or something. And you'll be like, I don't want a little hug from a shark. What you should do is you take the palm of your hand as it approaches you. Of course, 2 different approaches. If they just come slowly at you to check you out, that is what you should do. Take the palm of your hand, put it at their nose as they're coming towards you. They'll push against it. You can just redirect them. Push them down, push them up, sideways, whichever side. Sounds easier said than done, I know, but you can do it. I believe in you guys. So, once you do that, they'll go away. And then they'll come back because they're like, hey, I just wanted to say hi. How are you? They might do that 2, 3 times. After that, they'll get discouraged. They'll go away. If there's more than one, after that one, the other one might come. They're not attacking you, I swear. They'll be coming very gently, and they'll just want to say hi. if one is to come and attack you, they'll come very fast at you. You will know it. That is a time where you should punch it. It'll be instinct. You won't have to think about it. Two areas where you should punch it is the nose, very highly nervated areas. I'm going to talk about why, and the gills, or around the eyes. So you can just punch it, it'll throw them off, and they'll go away. And we have an example. Somebody has done it. It worked very well. However, sharks have personalities, kind of like cats. They really do. So, you know when you go to feed a cat, somebody else's cat, one of them is going to go hide in the third basement. They don't want to see you. They're afraid of you. The other one's going to come up to you, say like, "Hi, I'm Schubert. Please pet me." They all have personalities. Some of them are going to be very friendly. Some of them not so much. So you have to be able to read the room, give them their space. They are predators, even if you love them or hate them. Just be aware that they can come up towards you without it being an attack. Now, cage observation or free diving. You all know what a cage is when you go shark diving? Okay. There's a lot of people who ask me, I would like to do that. Is that safe? Is that not safe? Personally, I like free diving better because you are in the water, they know you're there, you know they're there, everybody's free, nobody's encaged. There's usually a very low chance that something will go wrong. In a cage, nowadays, we have big cameras so that photographers can take these very nice pictures. So they make the windows a bit bigger so that the cameras can fit. So the smaller sharks can get into the cage sometimes. It is very rare, but they can. They're not going to hurt you, but once they get into the cage, it's kind of like when a bee enters a car. You both freak out and you both want to get out. So the shark is going to go in every way and try to get out. He's most likely not going to hurt you, but it will hurt himself, banging against the metal. And you've seen the videos. If you have seen the videos of a shark in a cage, you see a lot of blood. You think it's the diver. It's actually the shark getting injured by the gills. So it's not the greatest thing. So in between the two, I would say maybe free diving, but that is totally a personal choice. A lot of people feel safer in the cage. But again, the bigger sharks can't enter the cage. So now the species of Africa. So for the species that we might see, we have the black tip shark. Very easy to spot. All of the tip of the fins, the dorsal, caudal, anal, they're all going to be black. You also have the other type of shark. You're not going to find it here, but the white tip shark. So it's going to be a black shark with the white tips of the fins. We also have the lemon shark. Very beautiful shark. Those are a bit smaller sharks, not as big as the great white. We have the tiger shark. Now, if you all remember, tiger shark might be a bit scary. Don't worry. You would have seen that one in St. Helena Island. From now on, is a lot less likely. The hammerhead shark, very, very my favorite one, personally. So because of the morphology of their head, they actually have a 360 vision. So they can see every single way. And a wonderful researcher, Chris Lowe, for those of you who are interested, his articles are really nice. He actually found out a few years ago, while he was doing his research on hammerheads, he had them in the little pond. And then he was like, my sample size is not too big, I need more sharks. Went to go and get more sharks, put them in the tank, and I was like, there's something different. Why are these a lot darker than these ones? And they were in the sun for about a few months more than the other ones. And so they realized that hammerhead can actually tan. And so they put the stickers on the new one to see if they could actually tan. Different stickers, so UV sticker, normal sticker. And they realized that yes, over the course of a few weeks, a few months, the pigments in the skin would actually change and they would tan. So hammerheads are one of the sharks that can do that. They're not going to put sunglasses and a pina colada on a chair, but they can tan. And tiger sharks are also known as kind of like the garbage can of the sea. They'll eat pretty much anything. We also have the blue shark, so very fine line shark, very long shark, and the mako shark, which kind of looks like a fish more, but very dark eyes, a lot of teeth. The whale shark, very big shark, is not a one that we will see on our journey here. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's not a whale. It is a shark. You have the gills. The tail is going to be lateral. It's not going to be longitudinal. So they're going to swim from left to right. And I know they can seem a lot scary because of their size. They are filter feeders, so they're not predators. They're really going to open their mouths very big, take in all the water, filter feed all the little organisms, and eat that. So they are of absolute no danger to us. Same thing goes for the basking shark. Again, looks very scary. If you look closely, they don't have any teeth. You can all realize that, yes? Can all see the no teeth? So they are also filter feeders. Oh, okay, Siri is not in.
Still on it.
Sorry, everybody.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with the connection. Please try in a moment.
Okay, got it. Siri does not like sharks. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, yes. Yeah. So they are filter feeders. So they'll swim around with their mouths very widely open. Usually there can be 3 of them, so it can be quite scary. But if you end up somehow in the mouth, you're just going to stay there and swim around. They can't eat you, so you can just swim out. But yeah, so they're filter feeders as well. And you can see when you're watching a shark, they always have their mouth just a little bit open. Anybody know why? You guys are very quiet. Wow. Breathe. Thank you. So yes, they always have to move forward so that they can breathe. So a lot of fish are going to have an adaptation. So if you've ever seen like a fish in a tank, if you were a kid, usually they do this. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah? So they suck in the water and force it through their gills so that they can absorb the oxygen. Sharks can't do that. They can't force the water into their mouths. So they have to always move forward so that the water is always flowing through their gills. Some of them will stay in areas where there's very strong current so that the water does it for them. They don't have to move as much. Some of them, the nurse sharks, are going to stay by the ocean of the bottom of the ocean, let the current do it. In some areas where it's very oxygenated, they're not going to have to move around as much. But nowadays, because oxygen is becoming more and more rare in the ocean, they have to move a little more, but depends on the species. Now the reproduction, some of them, I'll get it, okay. Some of them will do live births, so they'll have a gestation period, and then they'll give live births to their young. Some of them will lay eggs, so it depends on the species. We have the orange shark, who will give these little eggs. If you are in California, you've probably seen the beaches swarmed with them. This is a very specific egg of a very specific species. So not all shark eggs are like this. You can see the orange shark, sometimes they'll travel around with it in their mouths. Usually when they lay it, they'll try to put it in between 2 rocks, put it under a coral reef, just lodge it in an area where it's not going to be, where it's always going to be submerged. And it's not going to be too visual to predators. So if you see it on a beach, the current, let's say the tide went too low, lower than the shark expected, and you see it on the beach, it's already too late. Most likely it has already dried out and the fetus is dead inside, but you can take it, you can put it at the sun, and you can see the fetus of the shark inside. If it's still moving, you can put it back into the water, lodge it under a rock, but most likely it will be dead, so you can show it to your kids and be like, hey, this was a shark. So you have different types of egg for each different species. For each different species, for example, the black one right there is a stingray egg. Stingrays are not sharks. They're kind of like cousins of sharks, but they're a different branch. Actually, whole side note. Did you guys hear about Charlotte the stingray? Nobody? Oh, some of you maybe, yeah. So there was a whole article, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, Charlotte the stingray in an aquarium. She has been in an aquarium with only male sharks, not stingray, sharks for about 8 years, and now she's all of a sudden pregnant. And we know that sharks and stingray can't mate. They can't give a viable embryo, and so they're like, is she like immaculate? What is going on? And so there's a lot of hypotheses that came up. The one that came up the most is parthenogenesis. So it was kind of like something or a stress-triggered cellular division in the eggs. So she fertilized herself, basically. People didn't really believe it, but a few years ago, the same thing happened, and it was parthenogenesis. But once the baby is born, then we'll be able to see if it's like a mutant between a shark and a stingray. But that is very, very unlikely. If that is indeed what happened, it is most likely that the baby will die in the womb, or if it's born, it will die at birth, or if it survives, it is infertile. That is usually what happens, but I don't think it's a mutant between a shark and a stingray. But yeah, whole side note on the stingray thing. So they do have a very important role in their ecosystem. Honestly, if sharks weren't there, a lot of ecosystems would just slowly die off, especially the coral reefs. They are very important in these ecosystems. So they do maintain a very high level of biodiversity, making sure that by being predators, there's a little bit of everything. So they take care of these populations of fish, making sure that these populations of fish are not going to eat, let's say if they're herbivores, they're not going to eat all of the algae or all of the coral polyps. So they're making sure there's a little bit of everything so that everything is balanced. They're making sure, of course, coral reef health by taking out the predators of the corals. And they are very good indicators of the environmental health overall. If we see that there's a very healthy population of shark for about 20 years, and then all of a sudden, no sharks, they all either died off or they just migrated to somewhere else, there's very clearly something wrong here. So it's very easy for scientists to go there, analyze the water, see what is wrong, and fix the problem. And there's also, in a world without shark, it would most likely, within a few years, look from something like this to something like the image below. Slowly, all of the little preys will die. So there's a prey population explosion by having all of these, let's say, herbivorous fish in very big quantities. All the algae, all the coral polyps, all of these little species, there's no more of them because they're all being eaten. There's also a very altered habitat structure because, again, this population is disbalanced, and there is a decrease in fisheries because sharks actually really help in having healthy populations of fish, which is easy for the people who fish them afterwards, and economically speaking as well. There's also going to be an increase in disease spread, again, because there's a disbalance in the ecosystem, and like I said, economical impacts. Now, in evolution, we saw the big 5 extinctions. For those of you who weren't there, and the jellyfish lectures, there has been 5 very big extinctions where we lost about 70 to 96% of all marine life at a time. Those are cyclic, so they come back. We are currently on the 6th, but sharks have survived every single one of them. They haven't thrived like the jellyfish, but they have survived them. So they've been there for longer than dinosaurs have, and they've survived quite a lot. Over the years, of course, over the millions of years, they, with evolution, changed a lot from, let's say, species like this, who are quite funny looking. So there's a lot of fossils that were found like this. This is one of the hypotheses of what it would look like. Some people say that this little circle of teeth would be inner in their mouth, but it would be for their diet. So it's not anything scary. Some people think it would actually be to kind of munch off the algae, off the rocks. Some people think it would be to eat animals who have very thick shells. There's different hypotheses, but again, very extinct. There's another one that I'm sure you all know of, the megalodon. All heard of it? Yes, very big, bad shark. There are rumors that did spark not that long ago that the megalodon was back, that it was never extinct, that it is in the deep of the ocean. As far as I know, and as far as most scientists that I know, this is not true at all. And Facebook is not a very good source, because that's what I saw it on. But yeah, there's a lot of people that said, oh, he went in a submarine and he saw there was this shark that was coming towards the submarine, and then this bigger shark went to eat the shark, and it was like this fantasy stories. There is footage. It doesn't look conclusive. It is very easy to fake something, unfortunately. But most shark scientists, most of the world's leading researcher on the subject, said that if a shark that big were to exist, we would know about it. Of course, there's a lot of things in the ocean that we don't know about, but something that big, we would find a teeth. If not, we would find DNA. So we do have the DNA of the megalodon from the teeth that we've had over the years, prehistorical teeth. And DNA is actually pretty easy to find in the water. So we would find higher concentration of megalodon DNA in a certain area. We'd be, that is not supposed to be there. It would be a lot lower because it's been so long. But so far, there is no megalodon, I can assure you. So the megalodon, it was about 20 meters, which is 60 feet. So that would have been the maximum size. And somehow is not the biggest animal alive still. Which is the biggest animal? Blue whale, yes, and it is still alive today. So megalodon's a bit smaller, but still very, very big shark. So to give you a comparison, let's say that's me. You have the great white shark, so about as tall as me. You have the whale shark, which is bigger than the great white. You have the average of the megalodon, which would have been maybe 16 meters. And then you have the maximum size of the megalodon, which would have been 20 meters. So very, very, very big shark. So there are adaptations. There's quite a lot. One of them that makes it possible for them to have survived all of these extinction, all of these millions of years, is the fact that they have a cartilaginous skeleton. So bony skeleton is very, very heavy, and they're very big for most of them. Cartilage makes it possible for them to basically be very lightweight. If they were this heavy, they would have gone extinct millions of years ago. Their jaws. So the size of their jaws, of course, they're going to be able to eat very big prey, which will nourish them for quite a while. They're going to be able to open their jaws very widely, and they're going to be able to have a very strong bite force, bite power, which makes them sizable predators. So very, very good predators. The camouflage and coloration. Can all of you see the shark? Some of you, yes. So some of them, depending on their habitat, if, let's say, they'll live like this seems to be a rockier substrate, maybe a little bit of coral reefs, their whole epidermis is going to be adapted to live in these areas so that they can camouflage, they can get away from predators, and they can basically live on their life without being bothered too much. Now, the opposite of that would be counter shadings. So it's a form of camouflage when you are in open ocean. The best example I could find is the great white shark, or just the white shark now. So counter shading, if you look at it, they have the upper body is gray, so it's a darker color. If you are on the boat and you look, or just here, if you look at the bottom of the ocean, it's very dark. So it's a dark, dark blue. So if you look there and there's a shark, technically, if you're a predator, it would just blend in. It's dark skin with dark background. If you are from underneath looking for a prey, with the sun, the water is very clear, so it would be like a white, bluish. The underbelly of the shark is white, so it would, again, blend in. So from either side of which you are looking at, they blend in with their environment. So that's what counter shading is. And we have the ampulla of Lorenzini. This is why we always say, if you see a shark coming at you, and I'm just going to rectify that, if it's just coming friendly at you, don't punch it in the nose. That is just the last resort if it's attacking you. If it's just like, hey, my name is Robert, please pet me, and you're like, no, that is maybe not the best way to go about it. But it is a very highly nervated area of their face because they have all of these little nerve endings. You can see it a bit better here. All of these black little dots. You guys can see them, yeah? Okay, so these are all little ampullas of Lorenzini. So they're little nerve endings that can detect electromagnetic fields. So that is how they hunt. So when they see a fish, or when they see anything really that is alive, our body is made of ions. So positive ions, negative ions. Every movement that we make is a potential of energy going through our body. So we're made of electricity, basically. Every fish, everything in the water that is moving, for most of it. So they are capable of detecting that. So of course they have to be quite close. So we're saying a few meters, but they can detect this electromagnetic field. And by doing this is when, let's say, a fish will breathe, it'll send out these little wavelengths, let's say. Shark will swim about, will cap it with all of their little ampulla of Lorenzini and will go hunt it. That is also why when you are with, let's say, a very big group of people, you're swimming on a beach, shark will not be interested in going towards that beach. There's all this electricity, there's all this activity, and the shark, it's like going into a very loud club. The sharks, think of them as introverts. So they're very big predators. They tend to isolate their prey. And you can see it with seals, you can see it with sea lions. They'll take one and they'll isolate it. If there's a very big group of you at the beach, they're not even going to come close to you. That's why the attacks on crowded beach are very, very rare. Usually it's going to be very disoriented sharks, sharks that are injured, that are going to swim up the beach. Their goal is not to attack you. They don't know where they are. So the ampulla of Lorenzini is the way that they hunt, kind of like in the same way we saw with echolocation and the dolphins. They're going to detect electricity. So there are these bracelets, shark repellent. Anybody ever heard of them? No? They're kind of like Fitbits that emit electricity. Some people ask me, do they work? If they actually do what they say they're doing, technically, yes, it would work because, technically, yes, it would work because it would overwhelm this shark with all this electricity. But I would discourage you to do that. Usually people see it as like a Superman's cloak. Once they have it on, they're like, okay, I'm invincible now. And they'll do things that normally they wouldn't do. So maybe not the best idea, but technically they would work. So that is a very big adaptation. And you have the scales. Scales are kind of like these shields. They really are. They're very strong. And they are dermal denticles. They vary in the patterns depending on the species. You can tell the species if you pick up, of course they're microscopic, but if you pick up a scale, you can tell the species of the shark of which it belonged to. They are self-sharpening and replaceable. If they lose a lot of scales, they'll be able to replace them within a few days, few weeks, depending on the species. And there are smoother areas. I talked about the dolphin being able to hunt the shark in the belly. There's an area where it is softer. That is where they'll hit. That because somehow they know that this area is a lot smoother. So there's areas where the scales are going to be a bit smoother. Now the teeth, they are quite known for their big bad teeth, of course. So their teeth are going to vary in shapes and sizes, not only depending on the species, but depending on the age. So as they are young, they're going to have a different diet than when they'll be adult. So as they're young, they'll have a very specific shape, very specific size of teeth, and as they'll grow older, they'll lose them, and they'll grow completely different ones. There's also the multiple rows. Of course, the numbers is going to vary depending on the species. They'll be customized for their diets. They are regenerative. So if you guys don't like going to the dentist in your next life, I highly suggest you come back as a shark. And they are very, very good fossil records. So they're very easy to say, okay, this set of teeth from age 1 to, let's say, 200 belongs to this shark. So you can tell that it is exactly the species. You can tell what they ate through it with little remnants. They can tell the carbon in the atmosphere at the time that they were living there. So very good fossil records. Now a sleeping shark. How do sharks sleep? It's going to be a, oops, you can see it. So it's going to be an active rest, very similar to dolphins. So sharks usually, the first time it was found out, is a shark would stop, it would turn around in a circle one time constantly for about 30 minutes, and then it would go on the other side, turn around in another circle for 30 minutes. So they do, in a way, turn off half of their brain to sleep because they constantly have to move forward. Otherwise, they'll asphyxiate. So in the same way that a dolphin, but they're not as alert as a dolphin. So, and the difference between a shark and a dolphin, when you see it from a distance, you can see it with the dorsal fin. So a shark, you all know this, the tail is like this, so they'll swim from left to right. So the dorsal fin will tend to go from left to right, as opposed to, oops, like this. As opposed to a dolphin's tail is like this, so they'll go from up to down. So their dorsal fin will go up and down. So if you see doing like this, it's a dolphin. If you see a dorsal fin going like that, it's a shark. Now, if you see this little blow, that is a dolphin. Sharks do not have blowholes. So if they do, it's a very big problem. They're not going to survive long. But if you see the little blow cloud, that is either a dolphin or a whale. Now, the symbiosis. A symbiosis is a relationship where both individuals have something out of it. So let's say you have here the cleaner wasp and the cleaner shrimp, and you have the shark. So the shark is usually going to go at the bottom of the ocean, open its mouth, and be, everybody, this is a buffet. I promise I won't eat you. Just get rid of everything that is bothering me. It's really going to be like this dentist station. So they're going to be taking off everything around in their mouth, all the parasites, everything that has bothered them, and the shrimps and the wrasse are going to get a little meal out of it. So it's a win-win for both species. You also have the remora fish that I was talking about. Their physiology is really made for them to stick on to a bigger animal. So you could see the surface of them. They stick on to usually the belly of the shark. So they make sure that there's no parasites, nothing that is bothering them, and in exchange, nobody's going to go eat them because they're attached to big bad shark. So a good way to kind of like Uber eat through the ocean. So shark hunting. Unfortunately, that is a very big problem. In some areas of the world, it has contributed to a very big decline in the populations, mostly to shark fishing. So, of course, you have the famous shark fin soup in Japan. It is becoming better. A lot of people are boycotting it. They're deciding to not have it in their wedding, for example. But you also have recreational fishing. It's a bit less harmful, but just people, with the pictures and then they release it. Some of the problems that can occur is when they leave the hook in, and then it does a lot of damages later. There's a lot of great whites, for example, that wash up on the shore. It's like, oh, why did they die? And then there's this big hook that is leaving from their mouths. That is probably why. Substantial fishing. So usually these, again, not going to be that big of a deal because it's a smaller amount of fish. It's really for their own survival. It's going to be a smaller village of fishing. And bycatch. So that is accidental catching. When you throw in a net, you take in all this fish, and you take by accident a shark. Shark always have to be moving. So when you put it on the boat, you don't always look through it that fast. If you find a shark, it might be too late there to put it back into the water for it to be okay. Anybody know how many sharks we kill a year, by example? Rough number, no? About 100 million every year. Yeah, that's about a third of the population of the US. And just to give you an idea, there's about 67 million people in the UK. So that's a lot of sharks per year. So it is getting better now. There are a little bit more laws to protect them. But that is something we have to work on. So busting the myths. Let me just check on the time. I feel like I'm going over. Okay. So, busting the myth. Are you guys ready? Yes. So, first one. Sharks are man-eaters. Just trying to see if you guys were listening. False. Yay. It is false. So it is a myth. Of course, they are accidental. They think you are a seal, and they're like, woohoo, good little meal. And they will most likely release you. The problem is where their bite is. So usually if it's not in a too big of an area, you'll survive. Depends on the size of the shark as well. But usually you can just ask the locals. They tend to know where the sharks are, where the ones that you don't want to piss off. But you are generally very safe around sharks. And this little thing that you always hear, that if a shark is in the water and you're in the water, the shark will attack you. That is simply not true. You really have to either provoke it, it has to be very unwell, so they have to be very disoriented, or you have to look like a seal. So, good rule of thumb, try not to looking like a seal. Other thing. Oh no, you guys saw it. Okay, can shark glow in the dark? In other words, can they be bioluminescent? You guys saw it, but just, yes. Yes, they can. So they can be bioluminescent. They are very deep water shark. For example, we have the velvet belly lantern shark, quite a small shark. They'll have the tip of their fins are going to be bioluminescent because, again, when you are deep in the water, where the light doesn't penetrate, you make your own light. So they'll use this to communicate with other shark, to attract prey, make predators fear them. There's also the cookie cutter shark. You guys see the darker patch next to their eyes? That is the thing that is going to light up. So those two species are quite small, but they are capable of bioluminescence. Now, I'm going to try to not. Okay. Can sharks smell a single drop of blood from a mile away? Yes. Okay. Haha. It is a myth. They cannot smell a single drop of blood from a mile away. It is too little blood, too far. So you need to have a much bigger, you have to have a bigger amount of blood for them to smell it from that far. They have to either be closer or you have to bleed more. But even then, if you are bleeding in the water, yes, they will smell it. Will they come to you? Not always. So there's a lot of fishermen, I'm sure you can help me on this. To fish sharks, you will drop a lot of blood in the water. You don't always catch them, and they are most likely in the water. So they might smell it, but they're most likely just not interested. And I have seen it firsthand. In a shark tank, would drop these cubes of blood to try and study them, and the turtles would jump at the blood, and the sharks could not care less. So turtles, if anything, will come at you faster. But they are not always interested. And if you think of it, all of the kids that skims their knees or have little bruises here and there, there's always blood in the water. So the sharks are smelling it. They're not necessarily attracted to it. But yeah, a single drop is not enough. Okay, sharks are the strongest predators of the sea. True or false? It is false. Who is? Altogether. The orca. Yes, it is. So the orca is the true big bag predator of the sea. And yet we love orcas. So the PR team for the orcas, yay them. But in general, honestly, if you were to ask me, are you afraid about one thing in the ocean? I'd say be afraid of that. They are much, much worse than sharks. Can sharks... Okay. Can sharks walk on land? So, that is a reality. There is a specific species of shark, the epaulet shark, that is able to walk on land. When I say walk, I mean like this, when they just try and wiggle on land. So their fins, their anal fins, and their fins on the body, the ventral side, are going to be adapted to kind of like crawl on land. So when the tide goes lower, they're able to go around. They have a mucus on their skin, so they're able to not desiccate in the sun, and they are adapted to breathe air. They can't do it for long hours and hours and hours, but they can do it for quite a while. Now, sharks are the longest living vertebrate on the planet. Vertebrates include everything that has a skeleton. True or false? Including Jonathan, yes. True or false? False. It is true. Yes. Can anybody recognize this species? No? It is the Greenland shark. So the Greenland shark can live at least 400 years. I took it out of the presentation yesterday because I wanted to surprise you there. But they can live at least 400 years. The oldest one that was found, I think, was 521 years. They live in Arctic water, so around Greenland, really in that area. But they're quite big, too. I mean, they're a little smaller than white sharks, but about the same size. And to date them, they actually don't use their teeth, because teeth, they regenerate, so they fall and then they make new ones. They'll use their eyes. So the only way that they can figure out their real age is when they're dead. So they'll take their eyes and they'll look at the carbon in the eyes and they'll be able to date it. So yeah, the oldest one was actually found at 521 years old. So the oldest living vertebrate on the planet. I don't get it. Okay. Do sharks attack boats and submarines? No. You guys are so smart. No, it is a myth. So sharks will not attack boats and submarines. I know there's a whole stories during World War II where sharks would deliberately attack soldiers on the boats. That did happen. I don't have a good explanation for you. That might have been just that it was a stressful time. There was a lot of bombing in the ocean. Everything was kind of like on high alerts. But nowadays, it is either highly unlikely or it is not possible. The only way why you would see an attack on a shark on a boat would be if it is a fishing boat. If they have a net full of fish, they're going to go after it because it's a buffet for them. So it might look like they're attacking the boat when they are actually just trying to feed off of whatever you're trying to fish. Same thing if you're fishing a very big fish. They'll go after the fish and not you. But it has been seen that orcas actually are attacking boats. These are actually attacking boats. There's a few hypotheses that maybe an orca got hurt by a propeller once and now they're taking it out on propellers. I don't know if orcas are able to enact revenge. That is a whole theory that is trying to be tested, but orcas have been. Sharks, however, that is a myth. So, are some of you a little less afraid of sharks now, or did I make it way worse? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you learn something? Okay, great. Thank you. Really, so